Thank you for tuning in to another episode of From Sparks to Skyscrapers. Before you watch this episode, just know we had some technical difficulties with my microphone.
Not mine.
He's good. He's good. I'm always the problem. So
he said it.
Just make sure you listen to everything because his answers are going to be intact. My questions might not be intact, but that's all right. You're going to get the gist of it. Enjoy the episode. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What episode is this? What are we on? This is episode 9 of From Sparks to Skyscrapers, special edition. I hate to break it to you, we're going to be releasing this one in the fall. It's summertime right now. It's July 13th. We're in Philadelphia. We're with Alex Peay. Alex is a graduate of Ursinus. And after leaving Ursinus, founded One's Up, which is where we are right now. We're inside the One's Up HQ in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
so thank you for coming on.
First Ursinus group to be up here. Yeah. So it's an honor to have you guys be a part of it.
It's a pleasure to come down. So I just kind of want to get started with your time at Ursinus. You started Rising Suns when you were there. Can you just explain a little bit what that was and how that led you into what you do?
I actually started Rising Suns in my sophomore year. I was oh my gosh, I'm thinking back now. I was like 19. Okay. Yes, baby. You're more than welcome, sweetie. I love you. That's daddy's girl.
Yeah, we got a lot going on in here.
Yeah, right. Yes, I got my staff over there too. During when I was 19, I was like not really thinking about just my work, but there was a racial incident that happened on campus, and a lot of the black women on campus started protesting and were like, well, how come the guys aren't doing anything? So I was like, I don't need to protest like this, but there's something that we can do. Start a movement. So I started Rising Suns to bring the guys together to talk about ourselves and our community, who was better, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. But we started doing community service projects in local neighborhoods. And as we actually did family day cookouts during family days and stuff like that. And so it was a beautiful time for us. And I eventually ended up I got an internship working on Capitol Hill because of the work I was doing on campus.
And his major was politics.
Politics, yes. What I should have talked about. My major being politics and having 2 minors in media communications and American studies. Taking that route to work on Capitol Hill was an amazing experience. And I told myself, well, if I can get an internship on Capitol Hill, imagine what else I could do. So as I was graduating, I got Homecoming King, which is really dope. And then I was a class commencement speaker and left to move to Philadelphia and really turn Rising Suns to a nonprofit that would help black men become change agents in the neighborhoods by becoming mentors, doing community service projects, and also accelerating their own lives.
It's amazing, but also, when I saw you speak, Alex spoke at an entrepreneurship panel at Ursinus.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, so that's how we got connected and how I asked him to come on. But you mentioned being at Ursinus was the first time you had a bed.
Yeah. So, well, I did have a bed, but no. To your point, no, I did. Yeah, it's a long. This is where media comes in, right? Like all along blurred lines. But to your point, yes, I had humble beginnings. There were a point in my life where dealing with poverty and family challenge. No, actually, I grew up right outside of D.C. and then because of family challenges and issues, I ended up moving to New York, and where I dealt with a lot of challenges. And by the time I got to Ursinus, I did not have a bed of my own since I was freshman year in high school. Had to share a couple of beds. There was floors, couches. But education is always something I knew that I needed to pursue. That's going to get me out of a lot of this stuff. And so my first night at Ursinus, I stayed in my bed because it was so long to actually have my own bed. And I think sometimes we take little small things like that for granted.
I certainly do. It's true. And just being a person coming from, white suburbs of DC, I could never imagine. And that's a lot of people that come from the places that I come could never imagine. And that's where a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah. And it's funny for me, because even my life, I lived in this we didn't live that far from away from each other.
Yeah,
Like I lived
it's
like in the
Silver
outside.
Spring,
So
right?
yeah, we're like in the outside. So
30 minutes, for those that don't know. I'm from West Virginia. He's from Silver
the
Spring.
spring,
Close
yeah.
by.
So it's like I literally grew up in a very predominantly white suburbs neighborhood, you know. And when family stuff happens that's out of your control, you got to just go with the wind, you know. So like I was able to see what it was like to live in a neighborhood that was a thriving neighborhood, thriving school, and then going to a school and neighborhood that was just the extreme opposite. But it was like I got to science and started taking sociology classes that I realized there was like this whole inequality. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my life. I went to a really good school and around a nice neighborhood, and now I'm here. And I dealt with that too. But our science made me realize that there are people who actually did these studies and that there is this huge like injustice in our society around like those who have and those who have not. But Rasan brought that to my attention, and it helped me to really shape the work that I'm doing now, all and behold. But yeah.
How did the actual transition work between Rising Suns and One Sun?
What's up?
What were the specifics of, okay, I want to start this business to help the community, where I know One's Up, or I'm sorry, I know Rising Suns was just pretty much on campus.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
How did you branch out?
Well, so when I had it on campus, I joined, well, after I graduated, I joined a AmeriCorps program called City Year. And so I got to work with kids and fighting against the dropout crisis. While I was there, I ended up finding, you know, I'm like, I wanted to bring Rising Suns to Philadelphia. So wanted to figure out what I had to do, who I had to talk to about making it happen. But I also had some guys from Ursinus who actually came down and graduated with me. One of them, Mubarak Lawrence. I always say he was so dumb enough to come and like follow me afterwards. It's like he graduated, like, hey, you want to come to Philly with me and help me start this organization?
Yeah, why not?
That's what it was. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Like we gotta figure it out. Like you're the business major. I think we're gonna figure it out. But so once Moo graduated, came down there with me. He really helped me to mobilize more guys down there to really put the business plan together, the strategies, and really help us start to doing the programs. And then I had a couple guys from Ursinus that was helping us to get things started as we, you know, built down there. So we spent the first like 10 plus years as Rising Suns, running mentorship programs, after school programs.
So you were still Rising Suns.
Yep. Yeah, we were still doing that for a while. Actually, I wanted to become more inclusive and figure out ways for us to increase or scale our impact. And when we started doing Rising Suns, we were like, put your ones up, because it's like you're rising, and it means like you and I are one. And when we were doing it, we're like, it's so catchy because people started saying, hey, put your ones up, ones up, ones up. And I was like, well, I want to rebrand our organization, you know, to focus on just young people who are facing these barriers to education, employment, and just economic mobility. And I said, well, we got to change the name. I'm like, oh, let's call it One's Up. Because
That's where we are today.
Exactly. And so now, you know, we start off we were about to launch right before the pandemic hit. And then I know it's ridiculous. We was about to start programming and then stop. But then we was able to raise a good amount of money to have our own space, to launch our fellowship. So I got, you know, 5 people on staff who help out with the day-to-day stuff. So yeah, it's grown a lot. So now it's just, now One's Up is really focused on like how do we help young people just getting access to economic mobility, facing these barriers. So yeah, so I enjoy it. We're on summer break now, so there's like a lot of, like what I'm really big on now is just like at least staff development. So we're really doing like team dynamics for the staff and like how do we work together and coexist together as a team and building trust. So yeah, it's just like, I know summertime break, but it's like, nah, it still work for us. So.
Well, you're a super charismatic guy. I wonder, how does that translate to your leadership ability, and also, you know, as a young entrepreneur, learning how to be a leader on the fly can be horrifically difficult.
Yeah.
So what was that process of how has your leadership style grown over time?
It's still growing.
I'm sure it's
always grown. Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I think understanding about my work as a visionary, I came in as a visionary, was always seeing the big picture of things. But throughout the years, I understand the importance of like logistics in work. Now it's been a whole thing about, because when you grow and scale, especially being young entrepreneurs. I didn't go to school for economics or business, but like one of the things you learn now is like, how do you lead a team? How do you manage a team? And having the right people who can see the vision with you, who can be as passionate, as committed as for the work as you are, helps out a lot. So I got to thank the team. They really help make all this stuff come together. So
and you've done a great job. I read up a little bit. NBC 28 under 28.
Oh yeah.
What? How do you even get? How do they even
I
know?
don't honestly. A good friend of mine reached out to me. Was like,
first of all, what's the award? So what did you win?
Yeah. So I mean,
talk yourself up a little bit.
Okay, honestly,
hype yourself up.
I wish I could. There was nothing. Honestly, to be honest, it was just. And honestly, you find a lot of these things like 30. Now you got all these 30 for 30s and stuff like that, or under 30 stuff. It's like some give you more access to things, but this was like you're on a list with people. So I'm like, you're on a list with Steph Curry, Cam Newton.
They're on that.
Yeah, they're on. Yeah. So
that's incredible.
I know. Yeah, right. Michael B. Jordan. There's a number of people that are on that list.
Same year.
Same year. Yep. Same year. Everything. So you'll see on that list of people. You see a lot of influencers, entertainers.
What was the award for specifically?
Well, just so it was like acknowledging 28 under 28 of the most of the nation's most top innovators and most innovators in the work. So so I was I appreciated it, but the work still has to continue. I love awards, don't get me wrong, but when you're dealing with a population that still's dealing with what they're dealing with, I really don't have time to hey guys, I appreciate it. I'll give a little shout out even like now I've been off the radar for 4 years, haven't posted on social media at all. I just started last month to come back on because I'm really committed to making sure the work is done the right way. But this at some point, it's like, okay, you got to get the word out. I got to let people know. So my staff is like, when do you want to start posting? I'm like, all right, guys.
Fine.
I'm going to do it. And I made it my point. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So, but I make sure I don't get too much caught up in posting every day.
Right.
But yeah.
You were telling me before the podcast that you're a TikTok star, apparently.
Oh, I didn't see. I know it's hilarious because I feel like I'm not a TikTok star, but my staff says Alex, you are. But it's not. I feel like it's my alter ego.
Yeah.
That's the star.
So what's the character? Explain to the people.
Yes. So Pop Bruce Johnson. That's a character I started.
What's the ad handle?
Yes. Go follow us at Pop Bruce Johnson.
Pop
Bruce Johnson. Yes. Yeah. So with Pop, he came out after my grandmother passed away, and I used to live with my grandmother for a little bit, and I got a lot of her mannerisms, and I always saw myself as an old school guy. My friends said I used to sleep anywhere, wherever, it doesn't matter. And then I started a character during my time in City Year, and it was a way of just dressing as an old guy
advice, that kind of thing. What kind of content is it?
Yeah, and that's what became. I found out that people, because I had so much of my grandmother's mannerisms, people don't even realize that I'm a young guy dressed as an old man.
So the content is he dresses as an old man.
Yeah, dressed as an old man.
And he does this old person voice.
Yeah. Just a person give advice.
230,000 followers.
Yes. And it literally just based off of knowing that people either have a grandfather, lost a grandfather, or never had one. And Pop fills all those voids because he's teaching them things. He's doing comedy sketches. And a lot of his work is about healing wellness over tea. So he brings out a teacup and he engages the audience and he shares a little wisdom with them, gives them a hug. And he tells everyone he loves them. Yeah. And you find out that most people just need to hear that. You'd be surprised how many people who are on social media who really just need to hear somebody feel like they care about them. And Pop, crazy enough, fills that void. And you realize it's everybody. It got nothing to do with your race, your gender. Everybody. Yes, everyone. Some people I'm trans. Did Pop like me? So I'm like, of course. Duh. But that's the beauty of it is he's, as long as you're not hurting anybody, Papa doesn't care. He loves you, And I think that's a huge part of it. So one of my students actually inspired me to get him on TikTok in March. And I started posting them on there,
How
and
quick did it blow up?
huh?
How quick did it blow up?
I mean, I started in March, so if you take March in what
230
July?
230,000 followers in
Well,
less than 6 months?
yeah,
That's crazy. So it's
yeah,
gonna keep growing.
yeah, and I'm just going to see where it goes from there. So I'm like balancing out, like not trying to get too committed to this because I still got a lot of this to do, but watch it's panned out. And
So you mentioned that you had to do the work still.
Mhm.
And, that can be difficult sometimes when you're dealing with systematic issues
Yeah.
that, are almost too big to even address sometimes.
Yeah. I honestly came in here like I can see the world, but as you get older, you have to accept that you're getting older, and the time you thought you'll be able to save the world, it's like you're getting older and you're getting more tired,
Yeah.
and that energy's getting to reality that you cannot do it, and you can have to be okay with just doing your part.
Yeah.
Eventually, I do want to start getting into more systemic changes.
Yep.
And like really figuring out how we can do this work on a massive scale. I do want to replicate this model in different cities. So I'm like, I want to take this to around DC. I want to take this to
Yep.
Miami because I love Miami, New Orleans, out there to California. So I do have a number of places I do want to take this to, but I have to be okay knowing that we could just do our part and saving those that we can save. So
the young people that you do mentor, what are the things that they're talking about? What are you hearing from them about like the issues that they're facing? Do they have like that same optimism, or sometimes is it?
yeah, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming in the door with their different, discouragements, passions, and ideas. And with our young people, it's all about, well, how do you cultivate that with staff support, but also through each other?
Yep.
And so we actually have times for our young people to share how they really feel about their discouragements or their worries, excuse me, or their doubts. But then you have near peers there to really support each other on that. But I think that's the biggest thing is like we actually have that ability and opportunity to actually get our young people to talk to each other. And, which is great for me being in my position, as much as I do got to make sure the lights stay on and, operations, it stays afloat, but I make sure I take time to talk with our young people and spend time with them too and bring it in whatever experiences, knowledge I can give them. But yeah, I think that's the biggest part is that our young people know and are well aware about what's happening. But it's tough when you're so immune to it because that's
You're in
how
it.
it is. Yeah, you're in it. So like, we have some stories for our young people. They had humble beginnings too. My staff comes from humble beginnings. So that's what makes it really a beautiful place that we have here, this space where young people can be around other folks that can relate to them who've gone through sort of like the same kind of, challenges and can be there with them through those journeys.
Yeah. You mentioned the crime, the murder,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some of the stuff that you've dealt with your staff and your young people.
Yeah.
I'll kind of let you, talk about that. But
as we were doing our work, one of the things that I was not expecting being at Earth Science that me graduating doing this work, I would have to face murder. If I knew that, I would have never gone into this. And you can do all you can, but the challenges that come across, you have no control over. So, we've lost 5 people in our program. 4 of them were young people in our program that we lost in the past 10 years. And then the last one was a best friend of mine and a staff member here. So he was with me since the beginning of us starting Rising Suns in Philly. He was with me with City Year when I first started City Year and been with me throughout all the years of doing this. So we got our first space, our first large grant, like everything. He was just, and when you can't be celebrating about it because you got to think about the focus and the mission, he's the one that made you celebrate. Like, yo, remember when we was in your house using a laptop on an AC to keep it
look where
cool?
we are now.
Like, look at sometimes you don't think about that, and he was the one that made me remember those things. So I just, I've been doing like a lot of crying, a lot of healing, grieving. But my staff, thankfully enough, have been really supportive of each other. So it's tough as a leader, to deal with grief and stuff like that. But in our staff, but one of our funders gives us a group therapist that has helped us out. a whole lot in this. But yeah, the work it's tough, and you realize that a lot of this crime and stuff like that is really just stemmed from a lot of generational trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of need for mental wellness in communities between poverty and oppression. Like this is what happens, and it's tough. It's a very tough thing, and but these are my people, and I want to see them thrive, and it's a lot. It's very complex, but I'm here to do this work, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that this can flourish and make a huge impact. But I have to be okay with the fact that we can do what we can do with what we have.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And you've done a lot. You mentioned also at that panel, working with brands like Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Who else? What other brands?
Yeah,
have you
I worked with
with
Jordan Brand and Nike. We got to do some work with the 76ers, Starbucks, Home Depot. So these been some amazing companies who really just went out the way and really helped us with earned income models and doing work with them to provide contract work for our work throughout the years. And I love the fact that we got to work with these brands and really help them realize what community impact looks like.
Yeah.
So now we're like, well, what does it look like to do things in the future now with a lot of these brands and being on bigger brands? So there's some companies actually come in and play Uno and games with our young people. So we had Twitter coming here, Kate for NFL Films came in here.
Katie Morello, shout out. Was it our last episode?
She's
incredible.
Amazing. Yeah. So we've had, that's one thing too, like actually being able to reconnect with Ursinus alum to be
It's a great network.
Yeah, I have a board member that's actually my board chair is Ursinus alum Chris De Leon. And then one of my good buddies from Ursinus, his older brother is on my board. So so Ursinus has been a huge support in having alumni. Like you said, it's a really good network, and so being able to have them help us out with this is a really good thing to have.
Yeah. So how did you get to Ursinus?
Yeah, funny enough, I was in my high school class. It was like a career education class, and so Ursinus, this guy from Ursinus, he was a recruiter. He came in. He doesn't look like Stan. He didn't look like the face of what Ursinus showed. He was a black guy with cornrows, and I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I actually I like this, but really, what fascinated me about Ursinus had nothing to do with.
You want to pick this up real quick?
Oh, I kept trying to bother it. I didn't know if I would.
Just want to make sure we get it.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But first I thought he kept talking about earth science, and I'm like, well, I'm not interested in earth science at all. But then as I got to know more, and I saw the profile, like, oh, earth science. It was a beautiful campus, but what really enticed me was that they were getting, I don't know if they still do this, but they were allowing you to have a laptop. And I was just like, do you guys still get...
So we don't get them provided. They cut that off a few years ago.
Oh, man.
They cut it off because nobody was using it because everybody had their own laptop.
Wow, so it's funny. This says a lot about the tech boom, because when back in my day, being out of science, like laptops just started becoming a thing to have, and Wi-Fi, I found out, also started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Too. You can still have your Ethernet cord or you have your Wi-Fi. I was still on Ethernet cord, and then the Wi-Fi. I'm like, that's what. Honestly, it wasn't until I got to college that I actually got to see what Wi-Fi was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the laptops, that was a huge marker.
If I was 18, I would have been enticed by that.
That was my enticed, especially when you haven't had one ever, and then you're giving those out. So like, it was a laptop that I was like, I want to come there because of the laptop. But then I saw the site and I saw it was a small school.
Yep.
And I knew that I could thrive in a small school because of the amount of people you can connect with, teachers, professors, staff. Like, I was very involved on campus, and it was because it was so small. I could tap into so many different networks. But yeah, that was the big thing about that. And you said have a charismatic personality that I love to build relationships, and Ursinus taught me that, how to build relationships. So I knew everyone from the president.
To the janitors that are,
no, seriously, I really did. Yes, I knew the building engineers. I also worked with the building engineer too. So I literally like would
know
know
everybody.
everyone in there. I made sure even the cleaning staff, I knew them too. Just the but you never know when you need some help, and you got to have someone on your side. And having those good relationships really helped out. So I took that with me into everyday life now of making sure you build meaningful relationships with people to help make things thrive.
Yeah, can you explain some of these pictures that we have?
Yeah,
up here?
this is like our history. This is like
I figured it had some.
all this is like history.
I'm gonna go handheld.
Yeah, so this is like
First time ever we got it's like vlog style podcasting.
Yeah. So this is a picture of our first holiday event that we did. We actually, as Rising Suns, most of these are just like Rising Suns work and One's Up, but this was big for us when we went inside of a homeless shelter for battered women and children and held a 12-hour holiday extravaganza for them. So this was Khalil, good buddy that passed away. This is Stephen Harris. He went to Ursinus. And that's Mubarak also from Ursinus. So it was a good family thing that we were able to do to provide that. And this is Anaje and one of my staff, Brittany Holiday. So we did a whole lot of work during the summer during the voting election with Biden and Trump. And this is some of the work that we're doing at one of our partners, Urban Gardens. This is another photo of during our family day cookout that we do during summertime. Fernando actually went to Ursinus too. So I got a lot of...
so we're not the first Ursinus people.
Oh, no, here in this space.
Oh, in this space. Okay.
Yes, these pictures, we didn't even have a space yet.
So when did you get the space?
We got the space maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
So it's fairly new.
Yeah, fairly new. So we actually got a grant from a local foundation to repurpose an old barbershop.
Okay.
And we are outgrown the space, so now I'm raising money so we get a bigger space.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
Yeah, we get a bigger center now. But this is a little bit of history. We got pictures all around, but and we wanted to make sure we preserved our history because it explains a lot about who we are and what we did. So we had Rising Suns to focus on men. We also had like a sister organization called Rising Queens. And it was like, well, how do we all still work together as a rising family, So this is like all these pictures was to make sure that when people come in the room, they recognize that this is not the beginning of it. Like there's a whole history of this work, and they're just part of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you also got to remind yourself from what you come from.
Yeah. Never forget. Hey, my grandfather. This is true. He the one piece of advice he always harps on it to all the grandkids, but he always sits us down. He goes, "No matter where you go, never forget where you came from."
It's the truth. It's true because it's easy to forget. It's really easy to forget, and I am sometimes forget about my humble beginnings, And when I was at Ursinus, I got to think about it like, wow, there's a lot of beginnings for me at Ursinus. It was a huge platform for me to think about safety and care and love. That's one thing I do appreciate about Ursinus is about the family. I never forget, I can end up with this. After I was at the graduation commencement speaker, my family couldn't be there because of just all types of stuff. My dad came late. Mom couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I wanted my grandmother to be there, but she was too sick. But I remember when I was looking for my family, no one was there.
After I grab this again.
Oh, yeah, it keeps.
No, it's fine. Oh, you're fine. I just want to make sure. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, but while I was I never forget. I was walking on the yard, walking towards like the museum. And I never forget, Dean Nolan at the time, Debbie Nolan, she was handling a lot of the RAs and stuff like that at the time. And she was like, Alex, what's wrong? I looked so down. I didn't realize how down I looked. I was like, I really wish my family was here to see me during graduation. And she was like, Alex, your Ursinus family was there. And I don't think she realized how much that meant to me because Ursinus have really looked out. And then I don't think Ursinus realized how much they looked out for me in my times where I didn't go home during summer times. I stayed on campus because there was nowhere for me to go.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that. Yeah. So Ursinus helped me out in ways that they really don't know.
Yeah.
And I know that, like any other schools like that, there's always their ups and downs. But knowing that the path I was able to take, the opportunities that I received, I can't thank Ursinus enough for, give me the platform to be able to do what I'm able to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then seeing the next generation unfold here.
That's what they tell us. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is. You know,
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, seriously. Hey, I say it's all about how you take it. You know what I mean? You're paying intuition for it, so you got to make it
absolutely
for what it is. But it also makes me proud to see that you guys, it's an honor to have you guys in the space because I haven't had an actual like an earth scientist thing here, so to have you guys.
Thank
here.
you for having us. We really
I appreciate you guys coming down here.
Yeah,
you know, it's an honor. Yeah. Next time you guys come down here, we got to think about some cheesesteaks.
Yeah, for real. I don't have to think about that right now, bro.
Listen, actually.
Yeah, actually. All right, so I guess that's gonna be a wrap for episode 9. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to click that like, subscribe. Whatever it is, whatever platform, thank you. We'll see you next time on Varsity Skyscrapers.
Bye, guys.
Peace.